Hi, this is Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. And if you're like me, finding a place to eat is never an easy thing to do. Whether you're in New York or DC or traveling, I always find myself wishing I had a trusted friend I could call to tell me where to have dinner or lunch or just where to eat. The infatuation is that friend. The infatuation helps you find the right restaurant for any situation. Need a place for a first date? Trying to find a spot for your birthday that you don't want to celebrate, except you kind of have to. I had that a couple of weeks ago, by the way. The infatuation has you covered in all these situations and many, many more. So if you need a place to eat, but don't want to read through thousands of unreliable crowdsourced reviews from imbeciles that you have no idea who they are, hit up theinfatuation.com or download their free app for iOS or Android to search thousands of restaurant reviews and guides in 22 major cities around the world. Or let the infatuation do the work for you by sending a text to 64560. Again, that's text to 64560. A real person is going to respond to you and help you find a restaurant that's perfect for whatever situation you're in. Now, let's get going. This is the No BS Coaching Advice Podcast, episode 117. I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome. You know, I like to spend some time on generally Mondays talking with you about some aspect of life, the universe, and everything. And as I've said many times, I love a show that just comes together in a seemingly random way. But there's just a lot of things in life that provide some synchronicity. So I was listening to a couple of podcasts over the last couple of days. And one of them was one that talked about the NFL combines. Now, if you're not familiar with the National Football League, at this time of year, they have what they call the combine. And what that translates into is they combine all the players that might be drafted in the NFL draft in about 2 months from now, and have them do a series of exercises, tests, run plays, interview with different teams, a whole host of different things. And when you see some of the players, they have so much ability. And when you look at their times, because often they're running sprints of different sorts, they're running through hurdles or cones, and sometimes it's just a straightaway sprint. And the difference between one player and another can be 100th of a second. Catch that one. 100th of a second. And they are putting out such tremendous energy. And then they're going off and being interviewed by a general manager, an owner, or a coach, someone in 15-minute bursts where they don't have a lot of time to showcase their knowledge, but they've got to do it fast. And you wonder, how do they keep this up? How do they push themselves for that 100th of a second? There's a famous story about the 4-minute mile, which was believed to be impossible for someone to break until Dr. Roger Bannister did. And then all of a sudden, many other people ran under 4 minutes for a 1-mile race. We put limits on ourselves, and our abilities to transcend them is so critical. Why don't you think about becoming a no-limits person? Not believing the stories that people tell you about what you can't do, and just go out there and try and do it. The poet Maya Angelou is a treasure for the American people. She said, "Perhaps travel cannot prevent bigotry, but by demonstrating that all peoples cry, laugh, eat, worry, and die, it can introduce the idea that if we try and understand each other, we may even become friends." Yet in her home, she'll place a limit on bigotry. If she hears someone who speaks ill of another group of people, whatever that group it is. She'll say to them, "Not in my house, you don't. And if you want, you can leave right now." Words to that effect. That "not in my house, you don't" is, I heard it in the podcast. I'll simply say, folks, we tolerate a lot of obnoxious things, and we need to put limits on them, because otherwise it seems as though we condone the comment or condone the behavior. If there's one place that we need to place limits, it's on the comments of friends, in their humor, in their opinions of others that are so harsh, so cruel, and so opinionated and bigoted. We shouldn't put up with it. We'll be back in a moment after a word from our other sponsor. Hi, I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. I'm the host of the No BS Coaching Advice podcast here on Anchor.fm. If you've always wanted to start a podcast, Anchor makes it ridiculously easy to do it. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. And best of all, it's completely free and ridiculously easy to use. I know I've used two other services. One was very expensive, like $700 a month expensive, until I realized I was getting hosed, and now it costs me much less, but it still costs me. Another service that's inexpensive, but it still costs me. Again, it's 100% free. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcast. I do No BS coaching advice here, and it is a breeze. I can record on my laptop. I can record live off my phone. Again, very, very easy to use. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to Anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's Anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. Welcome back. Hard work is draining and very rewarding. When things are handed to us, I know how it is for me. I don't fully appreciate it unless I've really earned it. And there are times when we're in relationship with others. I'm not talking about your wife, husband, or partner. I'm speaking just in terms of relationships in the world where, like in the Maya Angelou situation, we hear something offensive, and sometimes it's directed toward us, a family member. That's where the hurt really comes in. It's not that they've said something rude to you that says you're an imbecile. It's that they've said something that relates to something in your life, someone in your life. And I'm wondering if you're willing to interrupt them and just say, ouch, and invite them into conversation with you. Sometimes people make mistakes when they're working hard, and something comes out of their mouth unthinkingly. But it's good to help people think. It's good to interrupt them from that crazy flow. I know I want to be interrupted when I make a mistake like that and I say something hurtful, because those moments are what often drives a wedge between us and another. At least give them the opportunity to correct it. I know there was a time years ago where a group I was involved with did something that was unintentionally hurtful. And I fought like hell until someone reached out to me and said, tell me what the hurt is. Tell me how you experienced that ouch. And once I was able to do that, we made amends with one another, we reconnected with one another, and I was extremely appreciative. Don't be afraid, because otherwise they win. They've punched you in the stomach in a certain way, and that'll slow you down in that race. As I said earlier at the NFL Combine, 100th of a second can sometimes make the difference between someone earning millions and someone earning maybe hundreds of thousands, maybe not being drafted or drafted in a very low round where there's no money guaranteed. I just use the money scenario as a way of how people get slowed down by situations where they just are not able to be at their best. Folks, as you can tell, this has been a show about limits and no limits. Limits being what you're willing to tolerate. No limits is about how huge and big and magnificent you're willing to be. You know, there are a lot of people who operate like tractors. They can pull the field, pull the others with them, and then there are the trailers, the ones that get pulled. Where do you want to be? And I say this with the full knowledge that you're going to be experimenting with different behaviors. And in doing so, you may judge a mistake has occurred. I'm going to call it a miscalculation. Kind of like a math problem. You know, in a math problem, sometimes when you add up the numbers, obviously, I'm an older individual, so we're not talking about using your phone or a digital way of adding something up. But think of it from the standpoint of adding up numbers and you miscalculate. Sometimes that's going to happen. You're going to learn from it. But the idea becomes, in doing so, you are going to become bigger. You're going to become more effective and successful. Don't put up with crap. Always try to be your best. Be magnificent. So that's today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you listen to the show. Just subscribe so you get downloads whenever I release a new episode. Each show is going to be bite-sized morsels of advice just like today's. I hope you enjoyed it, and I do hope you subscribe. And if you do choose to subscribe, I hope you decide to support the show. There's a link that will take you to anchor.fm where you can make a pledge in support of the show. I'd greatly appreciate it. If you're interested in my coaching you, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/The Big Game Hunter. Mention that you listen to the show. I just happen to like knowing I'm helping some folks. And once we're connected, message me about your interest in coaching. We'll set up a free call. We'll get acquainted, see if it makes sense. I'll be back soon with more. And in the meantime, I hope you have a great day. Take care. Time for